today I'm with Dr. Hannah Brandt, and you're going to make fun of me. You got all of these credentials that I don't know how to say them. Uh, you might want to help me out. But she is a PT, physical therapist.
So PT, so yeah, doctor of physical therapy, that's what my main schooling was in. And then I'm a certified personal trainer. And then the long one, they really need to shorten the name, is I'm a certified integrative and functional nutrition therapy practitioner. So instead of making it a few letters, they literally just made it the longest thing in the world. And I'm like, that was one certification, but they just make it a lot of words.
Well, I love it. And Hannah is the founder and lead coach at HLB Lifestyle. And it's a virtual nutrition and fitness coaching company that aims to redefine the accepted norms of diet, culture, and weight loss. And after having lost and maintained a weight loss of over 60 pounds, Hannah knows that women don't need another product, program, or supplement to be successful. Instead, HLB Lifestyle is shifting the concepts associated with weight management from fad diets, severe restriction, and quick fixes to sustainably optimal health and a relentless pursuit of joy. So thank you, Hannah, for being here. So we met through a networking group and we just kind of hit it off and started talking because I've had my own issues with my health and trying to figure out, I know I'm not really, severely overweight. I'm not, in the best shape, but I knew that there was something more that I could do and I wasn't getting the answer. So we just really kind of hit it off and became, friends. And now I'm a client. And so Hannah is also a coach of mine and a mentor. She has great business skills and I follow you on Instagram and I'm just like, okay, she is somebody that I want to model after, but thank you for being here. And today we just, I kind of approached her with the idea of talking about aesthetics and vanity. I've, been in the industry for a really long time and I've seen beautiful friends of mine that had the most gorgeous natural look that took care of their skin and their body. And then because we're so exposed to all of the treatments and products and services out there, it's really easy to start overdoing it and become obsessed and, over inject, over treat. And you can do this with your health and weight too. It's I don't know. So I've got some questions we're going to go over and just start a conversation about aesthetics and vanity and walking the line in a healthy way. And so, Hannah, how do you find balance between how you look and how you feel without taking it too far? If you want to start there.
I think that's a great place to start. And I've been really looking forward to this conversation because as someone who's lost an astronomical amount of weight, I fully understand what it feels like to have the moments when you look in the mirror and what you see looking back at you, who you see looking back at you, it's not you. That always bothered me. And so if I need to die alone on this hill, I will. I mean, coming in well-educated, I feel like I have a good head on my shoulders most days. And I solely, and I will say it till the day I die, because I'm honest, I started my weight loss journey because I wanted to look better. I was tired of being the fat friend, to use the F word. I was tired of being someone who felt like my outer appearance didn't match who I actually was. Fast forward as a practicing clinician, I'm educating some patients, for example, in the outpatient orthopedic world on, weight management because they need to get their weight down and be more a bit more flexible, have a bit more strength before they're a candidate for a certain procedure. I'm sitting there with my plumpy butt. I don't really look the part, even though I did exercise. So I fully want to just validate that we are allowed to make lifestyle choices from the lens of vanity, of wanting to look better. It's not about being the skinniest. It's not about being the smallest. It's not about being, the most glowy, dewy skin. But there is an energy that you can put out when you feel confident that you are taking care of yourself. That I learned as I started to do it. But vanity was what started me. So if that's what's starting someone, I think that's great. But like you said, it's easy to take too far. And I love to talk about this because I took it too far. Mine was more not necessarily like in the injectables and like that kind of area. But when it came to weight loss, I struggled with my weight my entire life. What, elementary school, middle school, high school, undergrad.
Because you lost over 60 pounds.
I mean, it's not a small amount of weight.
That is
I
not
never thought about it like this, but my brother was like, go put 60 pounds of like ground beef or ground turkey in your shopping cart. You lost that. I was like, that is a lot. Wow. Like, you don't think about it in those terms.
8-year-old is like 60 pounds.
It's wild when you think about it. And I get it for me. Like, looking back, that is when you got huge on social media, when people were doing those things publicly. That's exactly when I was doing it. And I did it behind closed doors. I did not need haters, cheerleaders. I did it for me, but I did it until I was so small. I caught the bug. Like, oh, this is how you lose weight. I needed to see for myself what like the other extreme looked like. I took it too far. So I know what that also feels like. And like looking back, I was being called Skeletor behind my back. Secretly, like the old fatty in me was like, hey, like I kind of liked it for a second. But after realizing what you have to give up to maintain that level of leanness, you learn like a nice delicate balance. And I think a big aha for me when I realized I had taken things too far and I was working so hard to maintain a certain level of leanness, a certain aesthetic, killing myself to do that. It was an aha moment when I realized my barometer, my comparison was my phone. It was my feed on Instagram. Like, so now there's a bunch of like social media is even bigger now than it was. I did this well over 10 years ago. But when I was scrolling, I had followed coaches, like bikini competitors. I never wanted to step on stage. The last thing I needed to do was someone judging me and my physique. No. But that's all I followed were those people who only shared their highlight reels, their best moments. And it dawned on me that not one person in my real life looked like someone on my phone. I had created this like social media prison of what I thought perfect was when I realized no normal human looks like that all the time. And when I looked up and took 2 steps back, I was like, wow, I don't have realistic expectations anymore. And I like what I love to do about twice a year now is I just do like an unfollow purge. If you make me second guess myself at all, make me feel a little bit like sometimes like pretty much like hits a button. You're like, oh, that didn't feel great. If they give me a sliver of that, unfollow or mute instantly. You have to make me feel good. You have to teach me something or like entertain me. Outside of that, even if it's like someone that I respect in the industry, if your messaging hits an edge with me, unfollow instantly. Because it's easy to just start only following those accounts. And that's when we start taking it too far because we're chasing someone on our screen and we don't know what they actually look like outside of what they're sharing.
Well, just a little side note. I've actually been doing that recently with people that I know. And we're not necessarily like great friends. We've been acquaintances for many, many years. We've been Facebook friends for, since Facebook was started.
Mm-hmm. That's Facebook.
And the Facebook. And I recently, like in the last couple of weeks, I've noticed, I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? And I'm scrolling and I just, you know what? I'm not getting something from you that's positive that I am aligned with. And you know what? I don't have to keep following you. I've been doing that.
It's still good to me. It's like
pretty good. Yeah.
Unfollow, mute, or for me, like the ultimate power move is unsubscribe to like an email that you don't want anymore. I'm like, oh, that just feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of going back to what you're saying, I really appreciate that you said that sometimes it's okay to lean into your vanity because it can be a motivator to a goal that you want to fulfill. And for me, that was what it was. I didn't need to lose 60 pounds. I'm still, working on my fitness goals. But I remember going to the doctor for an annual checkup, get blood work done, just kind of see how I knew that there was something going on with me and I just couldn't quite figure it out. And this, no offense, but my physician, my primary care physician, overweight herself, told me that I was perfectly healthy. And I just knew that that wasn't true. And, even if I am really healthy, why am I feeling this way about myself? Anyway, I share that because that's kind of the opposite spectrum, but we still can we both were using Vanity to help us figure it out. And finally, I'm feeling better thanks to you. So Just kind of throwing that in there.
I do feel like modern medicine is just a completely different beast. And like some of my clients have been primary care physicians. I've worked with radiologists. I've worked with a lot of women in like healthcare. I mean, one of my best friends in the world, she's a pediatric hepatologist, MD, PhD. She's been a client. Their niche is very different than weight loss and weight management. So even if you are in the company of a provider that you really value their care, they know so many great things. But if you feel like, what I kind of joke with my clients is I'm like, if your spidey senses are up, like you feel like something is just off, something just doesn't feel right, no one knows you better than you. And it's okay to be an advocate and say, thank you. I'm so glad that like I have nothing emergent going on, but there are some things sometimes in modern medicine, you do land with the right provider who is able to support you in that. And sometimes that's really just not going to be the right person or mode, given how like short those appointments can be and whatnot. But like I always just kind of say, like, trust your gut. Like if you feel like they're just, you kind of just know. Like grandma makes a recipe, it's like, hey, how much of that do you throw in? She just kind of knows, just kind of doing her thing. If you keep going back to like, I feel like there is just something, usually you're right. Whether it actually turns into a deep functional protocol is to be determined. Sometimes it really is like, yeah, maybe you actually don't feel very good. Even though you're healthy, maybe you actually just need to eat a little bit better and maybe cool it with the coffee and introduce some water into your diet. Like sometimes it really is a fix of just developing better habits. But just because someone says you're healthy doesn't mean you feel healthy, nor does it mean that you can't still want to change your appearance. What woman doesn't maybe want to lose a little weight? Or like, you know what, slide on her favorite dress and be able to look in the mirror and be like, yeah. Because you, especially like we work with a lot of business owners, you walk into a networking event with a different posture, a different energy when you are just rocking your blazer. Like you just, you know, you look good. Like there, like that exudes. People want to talk to you when you know you look good. But if you spent half the morning trying to find something that fits and just shoving your like stomach like into something that doesn't pinch as much when you sit down, you're going to get there already kind of with the wind taken out of your sails. Like I like to try and normalize it because I do feel like the body positivity culture, I love the message. You don't have to be social media accepted skinny to be healthy. Like that's a very different thing. But I feel like it's been swung too far where you're not even allowed to say that you want to lose weight without it being like, oh, well, you must hate yourself. And I'm like, easy there, Sparky. Like weight loss can be a very good thing. And objectively, medically, it can be a very positive, healthy thing for so many people. But body positivity culture almost makes women afraid to lose weight. I had a great podcast conversation and the host had put on a lot of weight during a really bad job. She left the job and that weight was a reminder of that not great chapter of her life. So she was like, I've since lost it. I feel like me again. And I've shed that chapter. But she's like, I was afraid to talk about it publicly because everyone think like, well, you don't need to lose weight. It was like, okay, like kind of like you, I understand I don't need to, but I want to. So get out of my way, please.
It's the same. I deal with it with, my skincare and any kind of, facial treatment that I want to get. I'm constantly told like, you don't need that, but I know that I'm not looking like I did 15 years ago. And it's just this whole mental thing that kind of weighs on you. And maybe not everybody has that, but when you're a little bit overweight or just not as fit as you'd like to be, you're drinking from
It's a little bit more dull.
Yeah.
Usually the one saying you don't need to change, it's coming from a place of love and admiration. It used to annoy the piss out of me. Just was like, you don't need to lose weight. And I'd be like, don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. I started to just like be very grateful that I had people in my life that thought like I didn't need any changes. And I would agree with them. I'm like, you're right. I actually don't need to, but I want to because this makes me feel good. And I don't have to apologize. Like for some reason, it's totally normal and not icky that women want to get their hair highlighted because we like our fresh blonde highlights. But for some reason, it is icky if we want to get the, better skincare treatments or want to lose a few pounds. Like somehow there's like acceptable things, but like no one's going to say, you don't need to get your hair highlighted. Every blonde knows it's like, oh yeah, I need some fresh highlights and these roots are looking rough. no one's going to say, no, you don't need that. But if it was like, I'm going to go get, a new treatment, I'm going to go for a facial, I want this like new product, I don't need that. It's very interesting, the entire world of like aesthetics and vanity.
Kind of segues into my next question for you. How do you think our vanity as providers influences our clients or limits us in our ability to offer the best services to our clients? So if we're feeling a little insecure, but we're trying to sell these services, how do you think that affects our clients? Do they even know?
I think whether the way I would describe it, know how if you are just around someone who has this like high pulsy, like anxious energy, it kind of repels you a little bit. You can tell when someone is a duck, like up top of the water, they seem cool, but you can see the water churning. Like, I feel like even those of us who are maybe a bit more seasoned in business, if you are not in alignment or in belief with what you're doing, it shows. I mean, I feel like we are now smarter buyers than ever in a good way. I don't want the impulse buy. I don't want the impulse, I want to do this kind of client. I want someone who has thought about it. Like, you know what? I do need to make changes. Like, let's do this together. I want the thoughtful, intentional. I don't want it to be a quick impulse. And I feel like people know if you don't believe in what you're doing. And like, as someone who went through a gut protocol journey and hormonal journey, I knew even as a health and fitness professional, my business organically happened when I just lost an astronomical amount of weight. People just started asking for my help and they haven't stopped. It's a great problem to have. But when I was going through gut stuff, hormone stuff, I knew part of it was reducing stress. So training had to come way down, just focused on walks. Calories had to come up just because restricting calories can be a stressor on certain systems. So I had to be okay watching the scale go back up. So I can still pick out like every video I did, like my face is a bit fuller. I don't have much like definition in my arms. I looked fine, but for me, I didn't look the part, if you will. And I knew I was showing up in a different energy the more I tried to pretend like it wasn't happening. So at least for me in that realm, I leaned into it with full ferocity. I talked about like having to be okay with vanity going on the shelf a little bit while I focused on my health. Because sometimes as we focus on our health, we can't do vanity at the same time. Often they are parallel. Sometimes it's like, you know what? We do want to lose weight or we want to do X, Y, and Z. We got to fix this first. That's the category I fell into. I could tell in my marketing and my like delivery of myself at like networking events, if I didn't talk about the functional side of things, it did feel good because I wasn't, looking the part. So I think it very much plays into who we are as business owners, how we feel in our skin. Again, it doesn't mean being the healthiest version of ourselves or being the skinniest version of ourselves. Sometimes we actually don't feel that great when we're working on new things, developing new habits. And I think being transparent about it saves our business instead of pretending like it's not happening because buyers are too smart. We work with smart women, they know.
I think you're right. So if that energy is feeding onto them, be honest. Like, look, like before we got onto this call, I told you, I'm like, I didn't sleep well last night. I don't know what's going on. I got all this stuff going on in my personal life. I'm busy. And you're like, it's okay. But sharing that with you, I think relieved a little bit of the stress that I was kind of feeling. Like I just wanted our conversation to be so great on the back end. In my brain, I'm like, I'm exhausted. And as I was kind of nervous and you just kind of took that away from me because, I just shared that with you and I didn't even realize that's what was happening. But that is what happened when I just shared my true self with you today.
I feel like now more than ever, especially with like Chat GPT and AI, people don't want that curated. It's like they want real, authentic humans. Like we want authenticity more than anything. I haven't used it yet, but I will have to show this to you. I'll show this to you when we're not recording. Oh my word. My husband, we were going to bed a few nights ago and I was already in bed. I was looking up something because he asked me. So I was like laying down and I had my phone up. I was scrolling. I think he accidentally like clicked the flashlight button. And like while he was trying to turn it off, he didn't realize it until it already happened. It somehow snapped a picture of me. It is literally darkness except for my face on the phone. I kid you not, we have yet to figure out if there are more rolls on my neck or my forehead. Because like I'm so animated, so I have a lot of forehead rolls, but just the way I was laying, it's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And like I love to take those things and normalize it. Be like, if someone goes to my Instagram, they're gonna see maybe some photos of like,
Yeah.
I to this day have never edited a photo to make me look more muscular, smaller, anything. I'm like minimal touch-ups at all. Like just make it look like a good photo. But there's still an aesthetic there. I totally get that. So I try to be very transparent. Like I probably will use it as a poll in my stories and be like, are there more rolls in my neck or on my forehead? I think that's what people want. They don't want the perfect person. They want the person that they can almost relate to. They see as like, okay, this person can help me, but they can also understand me. Because I do feel like if we don't just share, like, I slept like garbage last night, or like, like if it was a thing, it was last week, I opened a call with a client. I was like, I've spent the last 20 minutes cleaning poop off my floor from my dog. Like, I think sometimes it humanizes you instead of being so untouchably perfect that no one can relate.
Yeah.
And I feel like people used to feel like they needed to be the untouchable perfect. And now more than ever, it's almost the more authentic we are, the more people gravitate toward you.
Yeah. I think if they see you obviously being yourself, and as a business owner, you're going through transitions of becoming a better, not just a better business owner, but a better person physically, mentally. I want to do business with people that are doing that. It's just like with you, I don't know. I look up to you and I'm like, I trust you. There's a trust factor there because you've done it. You're not perfect, but you're maintaining and constantly continuing to do better. I don't know. It's appreciated. So
It's that we're all trying, and I appreciate that so much. Sometimes it's just nice to be in company of people that are like, okay, it didn't just fall in your lap. Like we're all just trying our best, and we're trying our best in different lanes, but it's so nice to just be in the company of people that are like, okay, we don't have it all together all the time, but in like our capacity, I'm about 5 steps ahead of you in like this health, fitness, all that journey. So as long as I am ahead of someone that I'm coaching, I don't mind them seeing the mess because you want to know what I like. You want to walk my path. And like in like your business realm, you like help these med spas and these aesthetic companies like open these businesses. It's okay if you're like, this is a little bit messy here. I'm still figuring this out. But you are 5 steps ahead of everyone who's looking at you like, how did she do that?
yeah, I love that because, sometimes you might feel like you're 20 steps behind, and really you're closer than you think.
You really are.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, we're our own worst critics.
Yeah. All right. So I've got another question here for you. And it kind of goes with what we've been talking about, normalizing the ebbs and flows of our menstrual cycles. How does this affect us in our businesses? How do we relate the ebbs and flows of our menstrual cycle to feeling beautiful and confident, or even just obsessed with looking perfect?
I love talking about normalizing the menstrual cycle just because it's one of those things where let's use weight, because most women are very aware of what it feels like to step on the scale and see a number that you don't like and step on the scale and see a number you do like. There's a very emotional response there. And it is interesting. Like we're just going to say the average woman who has a normal menstrual cycle, not on birth control, normal menstrual cycle, just like nothing crazy, every single month that is going to come. And every single month, maybe the scale jumps 2 pounds right before Ant Flow comes. And every single month, you lose your damn mind when you see the scale jump, those 2 pounds. And sometimes we're so emotionally charged, we've never applied logic to it. And we don't make the association that Ant Flow is coming. And it's really fun when I can start to see like a trend on the scale, or even someone's words they choose in a check. And I can tell if they're just a little more testy, a little more edgy. And they're just like, I don't know why I am just snarling this week. I'm like, you'll start your period Saturday. Like, it's fine. And then I get the text on Saturday. They're like, you witch doctor, how did you know? Like, you've been a snarly little bee and we just know you needed to come. So what I kind of joke with my clients, and I love to educate on the ebbs and flows of menstrual cycle, I'm like, not everyone is as sensitive to these fluctuations as others. And if you're on a hormonal birth control, you do you. That's totally fine. This also isn't going to be as applicable to you. This is someone who's not on a birth control and their hormones are natural. there are times in our cycle. Am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah.
All right. Because this is what I say to my clients. I'm like,
Yeah.
there are times in our cycle where you just feel like a bad bitch. You're just, we're jiving. Like maybe we're looking a little more lean. Like we're exercising a little bit more, or we just have a little like this. Like we feel like a bad bitch. We get that sometimes is very predictable when that's going to be in our cycle. Some women also then feel certain times of our cycle where we are a little bit more into our partners. Like, hey, baby, like just we're a little bit more biologically predisposed to want to have a little fun around that time. And then there's times of our cycle where we're more predisposed where we just want to kill a bitch. So I'm like, there are seasons of you feel like a bad bitch. There's seasons that you want to kill a bitch. And there's seasons that all you want to do is have a great time. So it's understanding when those are, just so you can kind of arm yourself, especially in the business world and aesthetics world. Often the time when we're leading up to our cycle, we may get a little bit of breakout. A little bit isn't abnormal. If it is astronomically terrible and like you are actually considering showing up on the show Snapped after killing someone, if it's that bad, that's not normal. But having those ebbs and flows, it happens to even healthy women, and it's understanding when to predict them. So right when we start our menstrual cycle, that is considered like day one. We start the bleed. Right then, for the first like maybe 2-3 days, most women are kind of like feeling the feels. You're just, it's fine, not a big deal. But as soon as Aunt Flo starts to leave the building, oh, we just feel like a bad bitch. Oh, we are primed. We are ready to rock. Like we are ready to just take on the world. That's good for about a week and a half ish. And right around day 14 is when we ovulate, about midway through cycle. That may be when we're a little bit more into our significant others and just, hey, baby, that may or may not happen. And then typically about 5 to 7 days after that, we're doing okay. Maybe some women feel a little more backed up from a bowel motility standpoint when we get a certain spike of a hormone. But then about the 5 days where we're about to slide into our cycle, hormones are dropping and changing kind of quickly in that manner. That's when we typically will see our energy drop, our patience drop, our tolerance drop. Basically, we give way less shits about everything. And we're just a little bit more on edge. We may be a little bit bloated, have a little bit of acne.
So this is probably the time where you don't want to make important decisions.
Exactly.
Business decisions that
Yeah. So I have some clients where I'm like, those 5 days aren't your best. You are not like your fullest self, if you will, on those 5 days. Don't put any big meetings there. Don't make any big decisions, because we know circa 7 days later, you're going to be feeling like yourself again. So like when business owners can structure their calendar, like I know if I'm going to, maybe my cycle's been a little bit funky, if I'm working on things, if there's a networking event 2 days before I'm supposed to start my cycle, I probably won't go, because the people I meet are going to meet me when I am probably, like we talked about earlier, kind of faking it.
Yeah.
When you really just want to be at home in your stretchy pants with your dog eating chocolate. And that
you navigate that if you have clients back to back all day long, every week, every month. If you're a business owner and you're still working with clients every day.
I think sometimes it's the worst when we don't expect it. And too many women aren't paying any mind to their cycle, like tracking. You don't need a fancy, I have an Oura ring on. You don't need a fancy Oura ring, a thermometer, a watch. You can literally have it in your calendar. But simply knowing when it's coming, I find that when we are caught off guard, that's when we start to unravel. But if you're like, okay, I know I'm going to have a little bit less patience these coming days, simply knowing that kind of takes the wind out of your sails. Like an example I would give, if you needed to go to an appointment across town and you expected to hit a lot of traffic, and then you hit a lot of traffic, we kind of break even. But if you had an appointment across town and you did not expect a lot of traffic and you hit a lot of traffic, you are about to rage. Yeah. Because it's the same scenario. Expecting it takes takes some pressure down a little bit, and knowing, okay, what do I need in these moments? I probably need more sleep on these days. So instead of binging doing that next episode on Netflix or doom scrolling, set a bedtime reminder and hold yourself to it. So I probably need more sleep. I probably need more water. I am okay if I need a second cup of coffee. I'm not going to shame myself for that. Maybe instead of being back to back to back to back with clients, I'm going to block one of those slots and I'm going to take a moment and step outside, get some air, get some sun on my skin, take a couple breaths because my window of tolerance is smaller. And those clients at the end of the day, they deserve the best of me. So I need to put a little block in. It's knowing that you need to be more gentle with yourself and maybe need to give yourself a bit more grace. If you can't not treat your clients like, like in my line of work too, like I'm doing my check-in days. Like I am showing up for my clients. I'm reading the labs. I'm doing the things. But I know if my energy starts to dip, I'm like, okay, I need to start doubling down on me. So I will drink the water. I will get more sleep. I will walk a little bit more. Self-care goes up on my priority list instead of me just wondering why. Again, I just am so tired all the time and I feel so scattered.
Yeah.
If we expect it, we can actually start to support our body during that season instead of it always being the worst 3 to 5 days of the month. And we just don't know why. And we're always like holding water and we're fat. Like none of our clothes fit. Like we unravel quickly. Simply expecting it can prevent the unraveling.
Yeah. I have started, it's not daily, but I have started putting in a 30-minute break, 30 minute to an hour break in the middle of my day and going on a little walk.
I love that.
Once or twice a week, and it doesn't even happen every week, but I have, I can tell a difference. I'm able to finish the rest of my day without losing my mind or taking out all of my stress on my kids when they come home from school. So, and if I'm feeling that way with my family, how am I reacting to my clients? So
that's great self-awareness.
Yeah. You guys taught me that, instilled that new routine. So I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you just had that experience. And a lot of times it doesn't stick until you experience it yourself. I recently had a client who she had never really kept tabs on her eating while on vacation because it seemed like this big, scary beast. And I'm like, I will never tell you to keep tabs on your nutrition on vacation. We can lean into other like healthful strategies so you can enjoy vacation instead of coming back feeling like a stuck sausage. But I'm like, typically on vacation, we'll see, protein typically drops. Vegetables kind of drop. Like we typically see those things. Typically carbs and fats and drinks go up. Like it's a normal thing. I can tell you that. But until she actually like paid attention and came back, she goes, traveling on vacation was really easy. And I didn't have to be perfect. And I didn't eat that much protein. So next time I'm going to do this. I'm like, you'll remember because you learned it. You got to see how you felt. And like for me, I always start my mornings like with a really long walk or some movement. So for my like middle of the day break, I eat lunch not sitting here. I do not eat lunch at my desk. If weather's tolerant, I'll sit outside. I have a little like covered little patio. That's my break is like I try and eat in a relaxed state for like overall digestion. Gets me a little fresh air. Like it's about coming up with what little thing can you do in the middle of your day that makes the second part of your day still feel good.
Yeah. I did not realize how many years I went without drinking water. And I mean, I don't practice aesthetics anymore. I do the consulting side, but I've been an esthetician for well over 20 years. And I don't know how many days in my schedule that I would be like noon or 1 o'clock and I hadn't even had a glass of water that day. And here I am preaching and teaching all my clients, oh, let's make your skin beautiful.
Stay hydrated.
Hydrated. Here's a bottle of water. And then I was not drinking any water. And so then when you guys came into my life, I remember we were just chatting and I said to you, oh my God, what kind of skincare do you use? Who do you go to? Like, what are you doing? Because I mean, I'm all about some skincare and some treatments. And you're like, you were very blunt and you go, that is all the water that I drink. I don't know if you said it exactly like that, but that is what you said. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Then it's okay. It didn't scare me off. I stuck around and, hired you to help me fix my life. Once I started kind of tracking it and realizing, I was only drinking 30 to 40 ounces of water a day. And I don't want to scare anybody who's listening and that's what you're doing. But when we're wanting our clients to glow and be beautiful and feel great about themselves, that's just another piece of us doing it for ourselves. And now you got me up to 100 120 ounces. And I can tell a difference, you know? And so it just kind of goes back to the mood. And I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with all that, but whatever you said triggered water. And I was like, "Ugh, I got to tell this story about the water."
That makes you laugh. And it's one of those, it is funny. I will never forget like a message I got from a client. We were working together in like the heat of the pandemic. She worked at Trader Joe's. So like grocery stores were open. So she was working like a dog, mask on every day. And she was like, I am watching everyone I work with develop like horrible acne under these masks. And she was like, my skin's never looked so good. Like she like a lot of times, you know, again, like what I said earlier, knowledge is power. So maybe someone is really drinking 30, 40 ounces a day. Like, okay, now we know maybe jumping you to 100 sounds insane because that might be. But what if you're at 30, 40, you try and get about 60 ounces a day? Just like move the goalpost a bit. People don't honestly know. I'm like, I personally don't like math. I think big numbers are scary. So I like to count to small numbers. So I have a yellow water bottle. If I drink 3 of those, I'm basically at 100 ounces. I have a salmon pink water bottle. 4 is about 100 ounces. I can count to 3 or 4 a day. Like we women, it's cool to have a Stanley now. Don't just carry it, actually drink it. But it's just one of those things where I feel like social media did this a little bit is we are very quick to feel like, you know what, I need all the best things right now. Like I have paid no mind to my wellness game. I've paid no mind to my skincare routine. I've paid no mind to like my eating. I need lab work. I need supplements. I need all the products. I need a facial. I need injection. Like we go there so quickly. I've been guilty of that myself when in reality, we missed the boat entirely. Like we feel like we need to have like a supplement, a product, a thing. We're one probiotic away from looking and feeling amazing. And like, that's what the diet culture has made us think. When in reality, sometimes it really is as simple as drinking some water, eating with intention, getting in a little bit of movement, and actually meeting our basic fundamental needs as a physical body. A physical body does need to be cared for, much like we take our cars in for oil changes, but we haven't thought about ourselves that way in so long, which is why I have literally created the basic shit membership. That's literally what it's called. I'm like, everyone just literally missed the entire boat on the basic shit. So I will name it exactly that. And it is literally water, steps, sleep, protein, and vegetables. It is like basic fundamental things because I like
Shit and pooping regularly.
exactly. Like what woman doesn't feel better after a great night's sleep and a massive shit? I mean, like, come on, you just wake up, you're like, yeah, like today's gonna be a good day. Like, I like to talk about the things that everybody does, but and if we're not pooping, you don't need another serving of the athletic greens. Like, that's fine if you want to incorporate that in your diet. But okay, are you eating? You have to actually eat food to create something to pass. You have to have water to help it pass. You have to have fiber. Like all those are missed. And we think we can green juice and probiotic our way out of a decade of piss poor lifestyle choices. I'm not judging. I was very much that person as well in college. Like I shouldn't be alive for everything I ate and drank. Like good grief. But it's so easy to want to like go to the fancy stuff when in reality, simply upping your water game can do wonders. And it's not going to happen in a week. You have to just continue to do it and then realize like, oh, dang, I do look a little dewy and glowy. Like,
well, this kind of circles back to the vanity piece because we in this aesthetic world, we have so much access and we get to buy things at cost usually. The supplements, the products, the treatments, everything is right at our fingertips. So we sometimes can overindulge in those things and we're not really taking a back seat and just saying, okay, let's observe what we're really doing to our bodies and how does that affect our minds. So,
and it can be one of those where like simply looking at what's in the product, especially from like a dietary supplemental standpoint, like, okay, if you are deficient and you're trying to eat more, I don't know, like vitamin A, like, and like, we got to get the vitamin. I'm like, why can't you go to Dr. Google and say foods high in vitamin A and bring those into your diet? So many of the things that we're doing, we can get from more natural sources. So I always like to, if like you've been like on the receiving end of this, if I have anybody taking a product and a supplement, there's always a rationale with it. why are we bringing this in? Like, what is the end goal here? And how long are we probably going to be on it? The goal isn't to be on supplements and products forever. It's to use them maybe in like certain areas, but then like taper off. It's a different game when it comes to skincare. Like we want to make sure we're using like moisturizers and toners and like the various like serums.
Yeah, but it fluctuate too.
Like it's like even when it comes to the realm of probiotics, if you have a good diet, you don't need them. And so I think there's just a little bit, sometimes you just need to kind of like we were talking purging, sometimes if you want to like purge our closet, you just need to like kind of purge, like you guys are moving soon. You want to kind of declutter. That can also happen in our medicine cabinet, in our skincare routine. Like, because sometimes you might end up with all those products at your fingertips. You might realize there's like a few different things that you're applying or using that all kind of do the same thing. And we can start to like simplify.
Yeah. And are we projecting that on our clients? I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always try to be
everything
when it comes to supplements, or like I'm always like, okay, it is kind of funny, especially you've been on the receiving end where I'm like, I'm a minimalist when it comes to supplements. Here's your recommendation based off of the like blood work and like or lab work that we did. And it's one of those of like, okay, this is a short-term strategy, not long-term. Because it's so amazing when I will never forget a client that came to me so underfed. A good day of eating for her was still sub 800 calories because she just like was overwhelmed, didn't know what to eat. So she didn't, but her supplement list was longer than my receipt from Target. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, like, why are we taking these? I don't even know anymore. They were recommended to me years ago. I'm like, this is probably a $700 a month supplement bill if I had to guess. We're not eating anything. I'm like, okay, like why don't we just tip the scales into more of like just food, less pill, just for what it's worth. Just my personal opinion. Like it's hard not to. And we all fall into that. I remember a coach in the industry that she's been around for a really long time, even sharing. She was like I think her esthetician, she was getting a facial and she was like, you know what? She goes, I'm all in. Like, I want your best stuff. Like I'm ready. She goes, my credit card was in hand. I'm looking at this bitch like, give me all your stuff. Like, I want everything. And she goes, you know what she did? She looked me straight in the eye and she goes, I know you're not drinking enough water. Like, that's where you need to start. And she was like, this bitch. Credit card in hand, didn't tell me one thing. And I loved that so much. When it's like, well, I could, but those aren't going to do jack shit.
Well, it's easier. It's easier to put another product on. It's easier to take another supplement than to
because it takes away any personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work, it's the supplement's fault. It's not that you didn't stay consistent with drinking enough water and getting some sleep. Yeah. It's easier because it just deflects any ownership of the fact that we actually need to play an active role in our aesthetic, our vanity goals. It's not a passive thing. Yeah, getting a facial might be passive, but there's a very active component to actually looking and feeling how you want.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I love chats like this.
This has been good. And I feel like I'm even getting a little extra coaching from you today. So I appreciate it.
I'm here for it.
All right. Well, tell everybody about your program. I know you got a couple of different things. You kind of mentioned some stuff.
Yeah. So I have 3 main ways that we can support women. It's myself and my head coach, Casey. We have that Healthy Habits basic shit membership to really it's a low barrier to entry. A lot of women don't have the capacity or the time for anything complicated, maybe not even working out. They're like, I need to do something and I'm overwhelmed on what my first step should be. That's it. It is like the various, like, let's just get you consistent with the basics, a little bit of group coaching in the community forum, girls are sharing recipes, things like that. I also do one-off consultations. Sometimes people just want like, I just need like an hour of your time. I need you to see what I'm doing and then tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, cool, no problem. So I do that. And then the experience that you're enjoying, that is kind of our premier offer, is we do one-on-one coaching where you are a direct line to me or my head coach, Casey, and it is all about you. We look at what you're doing, your life, the way you eat, the way you approach things and what you want. And we custom make all of your training, your nutrition, your lifestyle recommendations to you. And we get to have an ebb and flow every step of the way. So those are the primary ways we help women with membership, one-off consults, or the one-on-one coaching, which is our favorite offer just because that's where we get to know our women more intimately. And most people can snoop on me on Instagram. It's at Dr. Hannah, drhannah.healthcoach. That's where you get to know kind of my personality and my stance on various things in like health and fitness. There are so many of us that do what I do now in the health and fitness space. And you have to be an educated buyer and use discernment. Who is for me? Who's not for me? But also, who do I trust? Just because someone did lose weight doesn't mean they can help you do the same. That is part of my journey, but it's about finding the person that you feel like has the right offers and skill set to help you accomplish your end goal. So I always like remind people shopping on social media for a health and fitness provider, be smart.
Well, I'm going to give you a testimonial because I've been a client for a year.
Probably right around there.
Yeah, maybe slightly more than a year. And I'm a private client, one-on-one coaching. But right in the beginning, I was one of those people like, here's my credit card. Okay, what do I need to take? What do I need to do? Sign up. And I'm even the other day, I'm like, okay, yeah, let me buy those weights, even though I'm, suck at using them. So, but I'm ready. Let's do it. And your approach to helping me, I'll be honest, I haven't lost that much weight since we started, but I have lost so much inflammation that
your face looks completely different.
People come up to, like in the last couple of months, I have had at least once a week, someone says, what have you been doing? Have you lost some weight? And I'd probably say I've lost maybe like 5 pounds total, but I've lost an entire pant size, maybe almost 2, depending on the brand. And I feel better. I don't feel bloated, but it took months. It took several months in the beginning of me just being like foundationally normal because I didn't know what that was. I didn't know, and I've always considered myself a healthy person and eat healthy foods. And I've stayed away from ingredients I couldn't pronounce and tried to make my own, sauces or, even ketchup, whatever, almond milk, all of those things. But I was still just very inflamed, and it's been a complete lifestyle change. I thought that I could never give up alcohol. I still drink every now and then, but I don't know. I want to feel good for my clients. I want to feel good for my family. And I just knew that I had to make some changes. And because of that, it is helping me in so many other ways. And I still don't have my fitness and weight loss goals, but yet I've gained so much more. And so I'm still hanging in there and we're doing it. But
it's just proud of you.
I love it. And if anybody else, you guys should reach out to Hannah.
Well, thank you so much. Made my whole freaking day. Yeah. You just made me feel good for this entire day.
Yeah. It's all
the prime example of so many women come in very health conscious. You eat so well, but sometimes it's that like clue. It's like that intuition of like, I do eat healthy foods. I don't eat the like over processed things because I can't pronounce them. You had a very healthy diet, but sometimes if our digestion feels funky or our skin's just doing weird things, even with us being healthy, that's when it's a clue of like, why isn't my body feeling like it should given what I'm doing? So that's when we had to end up looking deeper and kind of like you fell into the same category I did. It's so hard to chase aesthetics and like formal fat loss when we have to do some healing first from a functional gut standpoint. It's one of like, okay, if like that chapter gets to be closed and then we get to rock and roll where other women come in and it's like, great, we get to go right into a fat loss deficit. Others come in, it's like, okay, there's a lot more going on. And that's the beauty. That's why like my favorite offer is always going to be one-on-one coaching, is because that's when you get to like, you kind of have a buddy. Like so often, like we don't know who to believe, who to look to. We're taking like snack-sized bites off of social media and the news of how to lose weight. It's okay, I got to give up gluten. No, I got to give up sugar. It's got to be my blood sugar. It's my cortisol. Aha, it's my thyroid. Nope. It's like I just need that one powder that they're making from the plant in the Amazon that was discovered just last week. Like we spiral quickly. And sometimes you just need a person to be like, okay, let's unpack all of this together. Some of this may be relevant to you. Some of this is not. Here's why. And for me, I do it for a living. You know that. And I feel like I'm pretty darn good at what I do. I always have a coach because especially as women, we can't be objective when it comes to our own aesthetics and vanity because we're too emotionally invested. that clouds judgment. So I need a coach when I'm like, what's going on with this over here? And he's like, easy there, Sparky. Like, get your head out of your butt. Like, you're fine. I'm like, okay, whatever, okay. Like, we can't be as objective as we need to. Like, you can't be as objective as you, like, with yourself as you are with your client. So that's kind of where we come in. We just kind of keep your head from spinning off.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you, Hannah, so much again for being here. Tell us one more time how everyone can get a hold of you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, just come say hi. Instagram is going to be one of the easiest ways. It's at Dr. Hannah, drhannah.healthcoach. And I do have a website. It is my business name, hlblifestyle.com. On that front page, you can even download one of my free ebooks on losing the weight and keeping it off. So don't be afraid to come say hi on Instagram. It's only me answering DMs. It's kind of funny. People are like, you replied. I'm like, yeah, like who doesn't? Like, it's called social media. We're all here to make friends.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you so much.